Today's listening practice, the jobs I had along my life. And how does it work? I will be just speaking about the jobs that I had along my life, but you, my friend, who are practicing over there, you don't need to pay attention to the information that I'm speaking about. You basically need to be paying attention to the expressions, words, time tenses, expressions, and so on, and verbs and linking sounds that I use along the practice. So, welcome to the listening practice. Grab a piece of paper and a pen, and let's get it on. If you write any of the expressions, or if you have any questions about one of the expressions or time tenses or structures that I use, please do not hesitate on sending it to me right over here in the comments section below. Okay? So, my job experiences, they've been very varied, they're not I have not worked always in the same area. I've not always worked as a teacher, and you will know the different crazy jobs that I had along my life and the things that I used to do in them. So that's why I figured out that it would be a very nice live to do, or a very nice listening practice to do. And I started off working like maybe when I was 17 or 18 years old. I was trying to remember the dates and the places. I know the names of the places, but I don't remember the exact dates. And the first job I had when I was 18, I remember I was 18, I was a furniture salesman. Furniture are the things that you find in your house, maybe sofas, maybe beds, all these things that you have along your house. And when I started working as a furniture salesman, I got that job because my ex-girlfriend, by that time she was my girlfriend, her parents were the owners of this furniture factory, very famous one. And that made it that she told me, hey, if you want to go and work with us for a whole season, it would be amazing. It was the Christmas season. I don't remember the year. And I decided to accept and said, okay, what can I lose working as a furniture salesman? Because I'm gonna work for commission. I was gonna get a commissioned percentage of all the sales that I would do. And I started working over there, and the things that we needed basically to do was, first of all, we needed to get to know all the products that we had in the showroom. So we had a big showroom, and in the showroom you would walk around several living rooms or dining room tables or several environments of the house that they were already decorated, very beautiful, and we would need to show all these articles or all these products to the people who were interested in buying them. So basically I would go like, hello, welcome to the store. So I was the type of furniture salesman that was with a folder there, and then I would wait for people in the entrance of the store and say like, welcome to blah blah blah, the name of the store, what can I help you with? And then we would start walking around with the people to show them the benefit of the product and the colors and all the textures and fabrics that they would want and so on. It was a very nice experience. You know why? Because in that time it was my first contact having with a lot of people and sales, and I was not good at sales. I have always been a shy person, or I was very shy. Right now I think I could consider myself not as shy as I used to be. So that was one of the reasons why. And incredibly, we would always try to sell what would bring more benefit to us. So let's say that the percentages that we would get out of a sale was like 2 or 3%. But when I was trying to sell and somebody told me, I want a sofa, I would take them first to the most expensive sofa. And I would say like, this is the best sofa for you. And in my mind, what came through my mind was like, this is the most expensive sofa, so I need to sell this sofa to this person. And it was a leather sofa that came from Italy. I don't remember where the leather came from, and it was quite amazing, quite interesting. And if I sold one of those, I would get like 10% of a commission rate or a commission percentage. So whenever somebody told me like, hey, we have a sofa, and I was like, whoa, I can sell you the best sofa that you need or the best sofa that you want. But you know, this information is not as important as you paying attention to the verbs that I use, expressions, and when I use the most, the least, the better, better than, more than, and so on. All the structures in the language. Don't pay attention to the information, just pay attention to the language. Okay, my friend? So I worked as a furniture salesman like at least for 5 months, I think. And during those 5 months, I was not a good furniture salesman. I never got to my goal. I had a goal that I had to reach, that if we put it in terms of reais, I would have to sell every month approximately like 700,000 reais, and I never reached the goal because it is difficult. It is a very difficult thing to sell. When you find people, there's a lot of people who just go and look at the things, or just people who just want to see how it looks like, the showroom, because it was a very nice showroom, and so on. So that was my first experience working furniture salesman. After 5 months, I don't remember why I said like, okay, you know, I think it's enough for me. I really appreciate the opportunity that you guys gave me. However, I'm not gonna be continuing working as a furniture salesman. I prefer doing something else. And then I started working in the area where I was working, what I was studying for. I was studying hospitality and tourism. So in that time, my uncle, he had a travel agency in Bogota. And since I was working for hospitality and tourism industry, I would say like, okay, this is the best thing that could happen because I'm gonna be in touch with the clients. I can get to know the whole life of a travel agency, maybe collect clients, call clients or the customers. I would get in touch with the customers and offer them the best services, help them travel around the world and so on. But this reality was not as much as I thought it was. When I started working at the travel agency with my uncle, I started working as an intern. And intern, basically, they don't give the intern let's say that the amount of work that a normal person would have, because we're dealing with money and we're dealing with customers. And if you deal with customers, you understand that customer is one of the most important things for a company. If I don't say the most important, got the internal and the external customer, right? So when I started working as a in that agency, my uncle's travel agency, he literally told me like, hey, all right, you can work in the agency as an intern. However, what you're gonna do is that you're gonna handle our website. You're gonna be including all the travel plans or all the packages, touristic packages in the website. So I would have to enter the let's say the program that they used to deal with the website, and I started gathering all the information. I would gather all the information to put it in order. I would describe each of the packages that we're trying to sell, and I would set it online for the website for them to try to sell it. But after some time, I would come and think about, I would say like, okay, I think that actually what my uncle did in this time, this period of the day, or in my life, he literally just gave me a job to help me. Because he paid me, I think that because he loved me or something like that, because I actually only did the thing for the website and I didn't learn much about tourism. After, they would ask me to call and I would have to update the database. So we need to start calling all these old customers, old clients that we had in our database, and we had them all in an Excel sheet. So I would gather the Excel sheet and I would have to fill in the information of the customer, the new information of the customer, address, phone number, if they had any compliment, emails, and if they had any registration number, and so on. So I would have to gather all this information to update the database. And I don't know if you know, or I don't know if you understand this, but updating databases is a pain in the butt because people don't like give out their information, or sometimes they don't trust the person who's in front of them. In front of them, no, who's calling. So they say like, why are you calling me? Or who are you? I need to talk to the owner of the travel agency to see if you are actually hired by them to do this type of job. And it was crazy because logically you're trying to convince somebody to give you their personal information. And if we did that nowadays, quite possibly nobody would give you their personal information, knowing that we have so many scams going around the world with that. So that was my second job. I worked there for 6 months approximately. No, I think it was close to a year. I did 480 hours of internship. So along the offices that they had, doing the website stuff, the database, and so on. Alongside, I was always teaching English. I'm not gonna tell you my story about English because you already know that I teach for over 12 years. So I'm not gonna be discussing about this, and teaching is literally just teaching. But I'm gonna tell you about one specific experience when I was teaching some specific group of people that was quite interesting. Now, I'll make a quick parenthesis, and you, my friend, who are paying attention over there, remember that the intention of this exercise is literally to pay attention to the structures, expressions, verbs, words, conjugations, linking sounds, and so on that you hear from me, and not to the information that I'm talking to you about. All right? So let's carry on. My next job experience. My next job experience was another internship. And that second internship, I did it in a hotel. It's a 5-star hotel in Bogota. It's a very classic one. And it's the hotel where all the main information of the hotel chain is. And it's called La Fontana Hotel. There, we would get the following. It was very fun because it was approximately 300 rooms and like 100 apartments. So it's a big hotel. It's a very big hotel. And what I would need to do as an intern, I was the phone operator. So look at this. This was a crazy life. There, it was one of the moments in my life when I knew that I needed to work fast if I wanted to get results. So in order for me to get results, I was hired for the internship, and they would tell me, look, I would have a big machine, like I'm gonna like big machine, and this big machine had like approximately 8 landlines. Landlines are the phone numbers that you call that are connected to the land, not telephone, not cell phones. So all the landlines, they would fall on me. So if anybody called any of the 300 rooms, I would answer the phone. If anybody called for room service or the laundry room or for a restaurant, whatever, I would answer the call. If anybody called the corporate area, I would answer the call. In the corporate area, there was the marketing department. And marketing department had approximately 25 to 30 key account managers. And the key account managers of the hotel, they dealt with 27 other hotels. So that means that when anybody needed to get in touch with one of the key account managers from the hotel, they would call and I would answer the call. But while I was answering that call, at the same precise moment, I would be getting calls from from guests from the hotel. I would get internal calls for people that wanted to be connected with the purchase area, or people who wanted to be connected with the financial area, because everything was done through the phone operator. And it was a crazy thing, and I remember that I would have to do all the time one specific move, and one move was literally hanging up with one finger and picking up the phone with the other finger, because we had 8 landlines. So I would be doing this like this all the time, crazy, using the headset and tell everybody, yes, welcome to the Hotel Fontana, please. My name is Esteban. How can I help you? Let me just transfer you really quickly. Bye bye. So there I understood that sometimes when people hang up at you quickly, it's not because they want to be rude, it's because they have a lot of phone calls waiting for them. We had customers calling all the time wanting to know about reservations. We had people who needed help with the internet. So whenever a guest called, I would be there helping them all the time. But this kind of help that we did with the guests was different because most of the guests that we received, they were stewardesses from airlines, specifically from Lufthansa Airlines. We had American Airlines as well. And these people, they don't speak Spanish. They either speak German or they speak English. So there was the good old Estevitan with his good English, and people from Lufthansa calling me just to help them gather. I'm not finding CNN International on the TV. What can I do to get that? Or I'm not finding the business center. I'm not finding the Wi-Fi. Blah 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 blah. So I would have to be helping them in English, and then I would hang up. I would start a phone call in Spanish, and so on. So this went on for 1 year, and I really liked this job. However, it was very stressful because it's 8 hours of you just on the phone, like pa 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 pa, pa like crazy. And there's moments of the day where our body gets heavy. And when I'm talking about heavy, it's specifically the moment after lunch that all your bodily functions, they start turning off, you know. Your body starts saying like, hey, I really want to rest. I really want to have like a. So I would start getting sleepy, and this phone would start ringing, and it had the most boring ringtone in the world. It was just like a beep. So whenever I was doing anything, I would just hear the phone. Bah. Once I heard that, man, I think that I dreamt with that noise. Terrible, terrible. I still hear it in my mind sometimes. So it was a crazy experience being a phone operator in a hotel branch for a five-star hotel. It was the headquarters of the hotel, so many phone calls went through that daily. Possibly more than 2,000 phone calls I would get a day. But it's kind of interesting experience. I met a lot of nice people. During that time, I was also the business center front desk. And in the business center, it was the best job in the world because I met the most amazing people. People who came from Germany and Spain and the United States. And they literally all the time would speak to me in English. Just talking about the Colombian culture, talking about the Colombian food, talking about everything that had to do with that. And it was amazing because people really like knowing about that. And since we were doing that all the time in English. So it was an excellent chance for me to practice my language skills and to get my first tips. I got my first tips, specifically I got the first tip I got in my whole life was a $5 bill, and it came from a girl from Lufthansa, and she was so grateful because I connected her to her parents in Skype that she gave me $5, and I was like, what? This is excellent, and I can live out of tips. But yeah, later on it changed. So that was experience I had there for over 1 year and a half. What happened there that I was trying to get a promotion, and since I was trying to get the promotion, I would always be asking my boss by that time, I'd say like, what do I need to get a promotion? And he would just say, you need to be patient. And that promotion would take me to the front desk to be a front desk agent. And that would have to deal only with the check-ins and check-outs or the information that needed from the customers or clients. And after some time, I grew tired of that, and I told him like, I think that you're not being too serious about my promotion. So I decided to quit the job, and I said I'm gonna quit my job. I don't want to do this anymore, and I decided to go. I was parallel teaching at that time, so I decided to start teaching full time by that moment. Then I started teaching in a normal school. We did traditional. No, it was not traditional actually. We did neurolinguistic programming based English, and it was quite interesting. I'm not, as I told you, I'm not going to be discussing here about my teaching experiences. And during that time, I stayed with them for I think it was in parallel. I stayed with them, and after I started teaching military's wives. But before I tell you that experience, I want to remind you that this listening practice is made for you to pay attention to the language that I'm using, to the type of expressions, time tenses, conjugations, linking sounds, verbs, adverbs, and so on. Everything that I say, pay attention to the language and don't pay attention to the information. The information is not important. That's why I'm speaking like a very generic topic and I'm just babbling here about it for you to practice your listening skills, my friend. I'm using different speed, different tones, and so on just to help you with this listening practice. If you have any comments or any questions, you can leave them here in the comment below or in the comment section below. Okay? Now, I started teaching for military wives. And military wives, I don't know if you have been in touch with the military world, but in Colombia, it is a very strict, and besides being a strict world, it is a very closed-minded world where the people that you meet are people that are so closed-minded that you can't even grasp this idea. So when I started teaching this military wives, it was funny because here comes Esteban. I've always been like this, all energetic, all crazy, all happy, all blah blah, all different. So I would arrive to the military, to the headquarters, and by that time my means of transportation were rollerblades. So I would go skate, not skating, but it was rollerblading to the classes. And when they saw a little guy arriving by rollerblading, Choco, stop it. When they saw a little guy arriving in their rollerblades or in his bicycle, they would say like, "Who are you? And why are you coming to the military like this?" And I say, "I'm the English teacher." So it was amazing. It was amazing because the people that had to teach, they taught me something. I went to teach and I actually got taught many things. And is that I always underestimated what they do over there. And I underestimated the level of organization and the level of stress that families live in those enclosed spaces. I remember some of the stories that they used to tell me, and they used to tell me these stories like in English, trying to communicate and so on, where of the way that they live in this enclosed space. Because there's many rules, there's strict rules, you need to know a lot about it. And the things that I had heard about, literally from the military, were the things that I had heard about the people who went and served the country. And personally, I didn't do it. And that is a story that I will share with you later on. Because that's a great story too. So I taught them English for 4 months. It was a very quick experience. And that quick experience was, it was very satisfying, but I wasn't applying my career, and I loved teaching, and I have always loved teaching, like you know that I love teaching, but I was not applying my career, and then here comes this thought like, hey, I'm studying for something, so I should really apply my career. So I started sending my curriculum and I started applying for new job opportunities. Start paying attention to the vocabulary over here, my friend. Vocabulary, expressions, and so on. I started sending my curriculum and applying to the same hotel branch where I used to work. And once I got an interview where they told me like, okay, we're gonna give you the opportunity to become a front desk agent. And it was quite funny because the person who interviewed me, he had worked in the first hotel where I used to work as a phone operator. So he used to be one of my bosses. I had many bosses by that time. So since he was one of my bosses all the time, he knew my work and he knew my energy, he knew the things I could do and so on. And he invited me to work as a front desk agent. Working there as a front desk agent, what I basically had to do was get in touch with the customers or the guests by that time, solve their problems, receive the payments that they would do, and I would ask them for the information that we would have to fill out for the hotel registration card. So the types of information that we would ask are normally for their corporate clients. We used to have many corporate clients whose companies they paid for all of the expenses. So if they had any type of purchase outside the hotel or anything, they would just put it on the credit card of the company. And since they put it in the credit card of the company would pay off the hotel by the purchase area. So by the end of the month, or by the end of the day, we would have to ask for all the things that had to do with the purchase orders regarding the company, and we would send them all the expenses that the person had during his stay at the hotel, and after giving that, we would collect from the company. So the company paid the hotel by any means. That was more an internal thing. But one of the most interesting things I learned by dealing with money was that we always needed to have enough cash to survive in the telling machine, in the cashier registration. But if there was a moment of the day where we received a ton of cash and we were not supposed to have a certain limit of cash in our drawer, then we needed to call the person who was in charge. It was, in this case, my boss or the person from the financial area or the treasury. We would call them, they would arrive with a big envelope and take all the money that we had so that they would keep it in the safe from the hotel. The safe is the same, is like this box where you put like a password, and the people put in the valuable objects, right? And then we would do this during an 8-hour shift. This 8-hour shift was super interesting because the amount of people that you have contact with from all over the world, and the languages that you need to speak are normally English or Spanish because we're in Colombia. It made me realize the vastity of the world. But one of the things that we had to do, and specifically one of the things that I would guess that it's one of the hardest things that I have had to do, is dealing with the problems that people have during their stays in the hotel. When you deal with a problem, and we're talking about the problems that we're having, that they were having in the rooms, like, my toilet is not flushing, or my shower does not have hot water, what can I do? Or I ordered room service and it hasn't arrived, it's been more than 2 hours. So we would have these problems, and dealing with that, knowing how to empathize with the person in order to deal with that, was one of the most difficult things I did in that position. Along that time, I was always being praised for the service that I was giving to the hotel. I was being praised by the bosses around me. We had the front desk manager boss, the marketing boss, the general manager, and so on. And there was a change in the general management, and the main manager, the hotel manager, he was changed. And with that came other changes. And I had the opportunity to get a promotion. And that promotion was quite important in my life because here comes the last job I had. Because I'm not gonna be talking to you about the ones in Brazil. Oh, I'm gonna talk to you about the ones in Brazil. No worries. And then I got a promotion. I was the guest service manager. What I had to do as a guest service manager was getting everything ready for the arrivals of the hotel after office hours. When office hours ended, all the bosses went to their houses, and then I was the person in charge of the hotel. So I would find the people who are supposed to arrive that night. I will go and check their room, make like a quick checklist of what the rooms needed to have or what they couldn't have, and so on. And I would make that checklist be spotless. So after doing that, then I would have to go and check the meetings that there would be in the hotel, and see if everything was ready for the meeting, and so on. Logically, I didn't have to check personally all the things because there's a whole team to do that. But it was a great experience because I started gathering more leadership skills, because we had to deal with with the waiters, we had to deal with the people, with the bus boys, we had to deal with the bellhops, with the front desk agents, be taking care of the front desk, dealing with the customers or the guests. I would have to sit down with the regular guests, sit down and have a coffee with them, just discuss how things were and so on. And this made a big change, or it was a major thing in my life. When we were there, I actually met my wife, my current wife, Lorena, current and for always my wife, Lorena, and we got married, and then we came to Brazil, where I started working as a teacher and as a coordinator in a language school. As a teacher, I worked for a very short time. It was 3 months, because in that same school, I got a promotion due to the skills that I had acquired the in the guest service manager position. So it was quite a very good experience. I was a coordinator for 3 years. And wait, I'll make a parenthesis here before I continue talking about that, and remind you that this is a listening exercise, my friend, a listening practice. So you're not supposed to be paying attention to the information, but you are supposed to be paying attention to the type of vocabulary or words, expressions, idioms, verbs, conjugations, linking sounds, and so on that I use in the language. Okay, not the information. Focus in the language, not in the information. So, as a coordinator, I worked for 3 years, and it was by far the most stressful job I had, because besides dealing with students and people who really want to learn, I had to deal with something that I personally didn't like, and it was the fact of re enrolling people for the next study year. And this is like a high pressure thing, because you have goals to reach and you have percentages that you need to acquire, to attain, to achieve, sorry. And then you start saying like, hey, how's your re-enrollment percentages? You need to have like close to 80 or 90% of re-enrollments. There can't be people who leave the school and so on. And this is a very stressful thing, because along that way, or alongside, parallel to that, I had to train the teachers and give them trainings about leadership, empathy, how to deal with students, how to deal with the difficulties, how to deal with their own lives, how to deal with their own difficulties, the personal life and professional life, and so on. And after I finished that job, they invited me to leave the company, and was the best thing that they could have done, because that's when I opened and I launched our company, that's Evolve and Learn Language Coaching. And until then, from there until now, here is what I do. And you are right now being a part of it, my friend, because you have just spent a listening practice where you got to know the jobs I had along my life, and you practice your listening in English. All right. So up to now, you should have paid attention to the language and not the information that I was speaking. And if you took some notes of the words that I said, or expressions and so on, and you would like to share with me, please leave it here in the comment, my friend. It would be very nice. All right.